Scary story. They say Black Hollow House doesn't appear on any map anymore, like the land itself gave up on remembering it, a house swallowed by the creeping forest that moved in over the years like mold on bread, choking out the driveway, erasing the path that once led straight to the front door. But the house still stands, half-rotten, all wrong, watching the world through cracked window panes that glint even when there's no light. No one goes looking for Black Hollow. No one except those who are either too brave or too stupid to understand that some places are forgotten on purpose. When Sam, Tori, and Jalen rolled up in their beat-up Subaru that foggy October evening, they thought they were just making a horror video for their channel, chasing views with the usual tricks, hidden speakers, night vision, one of them pretending to get possessed. But Black Hollow House wasn't just another spooky set piece. It wasn't even empty. The first thing they noticed was the silence. Not quiet. Total silence. The kind that pressed against your skull and made your heartbeat sound like a war drum. No birds. No wind. Not even the hum of insects. The second thing was the smell, wet dirt and rotting wood, something deeper underneath, coppery and sharp, like old blood soaked into the foundation. They hesitated at the gate, rusted and half swallowed by weeds, but eventually forced it open with a screech loud enough to feel sinful. Sam laughed too loud, trying to shake off the unease, and led the way up the crumbling steps. The door opened before they touched it. Inside, the air was colder than it should have been, even for October. The furniture looked like it hadn't been touched in decades, yet there was no dust. Everything was too clean in the wrong places, like someone had been expecting them. The wallpaper peeled like skin, patterns fading into things that looked like eyes if you stared too long. Tori set up the camera while Jalen lit the lantern they'd brought for effect, but the house didn't need theatrics. As soon as they crossed the threshold, the house seemed to take a breath. The boards groaned like bones shifting. A low creak echoed through the hallway, not from them, but from something deeper in. Sam called out, "Hello? Anybody home?" Half mocking, half hoping there'd be no answer. There wasn't, not exactly. But the air changed. It got heavier. The temperature dropped another 10 degrees. The front door, wide open seconds ago, slammed shut hard enough to shake the walls. Tori dropped the camera. It kept recording, the light blinking red, even as the battery icon flickered between full and dead. They tried to open the door. It didn't budge. Not stuck, locked. Or sealed. Jalen grabbed the handle and pulled with all his weight, but it wouldn't move. Sam suggested they look for another way out, maybe the back door, a window, anything. But the layout was wrong. The hallway stretched too far. Rooms they passed once showed up again. Doors led to the same place twice. The stairs led up and down at the same time. It was like the house rearranged itself behind their backs. That's when the laughter started. Not theirs. A child's giggle, high and warbling, coming from behind the walls. They spun, flashlight sweeping the room. Nothing. Then footsteps above. Then whispering, so many voices, too many to count. All saying the same thing, over and over, "You came back. You came back. You came back." They didn't run. Not yet. They convinced themselves it was all part of the atmosphere, maybe something left behind by the original owners, an old intercom system short-circuiting. But the whispers followed them. When they passed a mirror in the hallway, Tori paused. Her reflection didn't. It stared back a second longer, then smiled as she turned away. They reached the dining room. A long table stretched the length of it, laid out for dinner. Fresh food. Steaming, despite no fire or oven. The smell was almost irresistible, roast meat, herbs, fresh bread, but none of them touched it. They just stared. That's when they heard the soft thump of footsteps upstairs. Sam, trying to keep the group from falling apart, suggested they check it out. Maybe someone really was living here. Maybe it was all a prank. But none of them believed that. Not anymore. Upstairs, the air was thicker, like breathing through wet wool. The hallway narrowed unnaturally, the walls bending inward like a throat. They passed doors with names carved into them: Margaret, Harlan, Baby Ellie, and each door was marked with deep scratches near the handles, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. Jalen wanted to turn back, but when he looked behind them, there was no staircase anymore. Just more hallway. They were inside something alive. The nursery door creaked open before they touched it. Inside, the walls were covered in drawings, hundreds of them, all done in crayon. Smiling families. A house with dark windows. Then, as they looked closer, the pictures changed. The smiling faces turned to screaming ones. The house began to bleed. Figures in the windows. Something rising from the basement. In the center of the room sat a rocking horse, moving slowly back and forth, though no one touched it. The music box on the shelf began to play a lullaby none of them knew. Tori backed out of the room, whispering that she saw something in the mirror again, something with her face, but too wide, too long, smiling too hard. They ran. Down the hallway again, through doors that shouldn't have led anywhere. The house shifted. The walls pulsed like muscle. And then the lights went out. In the dark, they heard breathing. Not theirs. Something bigger. Something wet. Then came the thumping again, but this time from inside the walls. It followed them, matched their steps. Jalen screamed. Something had grabbed his ankle. When they shone the flashlight down, it was a hand, pale and rotted, pulling itself up from a floorboard that had split open like a mouth. Sam kicked it free, dragging Jalen back. They bolted, taking the first door they could find. They ended up in the basement. They hadn't meant to, hadn't taken stairs, but there they were, cold stone underfoot, the smell of rot overwhelming. The walls were lined with shelves full of jars. Inside each jar, something that looked like a part of someone: an ear, an eye, a small pale hand floating in black liquid. There were names etched into each lid. The same names from the doors upstairs. Then they saw the altar. It stood in the center of the room, made of bone and rusted metal, smeared with something too dark to be paint. On it lay a book, bound in what looked like skin. It opened by itself. The pages flipped, revealing a family tree. The Morwan family. Each name was crossed out. Except three. 3 new ones, written in fresh ink: Sam, Tori, Jalen. Then came the voice. Deep, ancient, wrong. It spoke from everywhere and nowhere. You came back. You came back. You belong to the house now. The walls of the basement bled. The floor rippled. Figures emerged from the corners, tall, thin, wrong, their faces twisted like melting wax. They reached for the 3 of them, mouths gaping, eyes hollow. Tori screamed and ran, vanished through a wall that rippled like water. Sam tried to follow, but the wall was solid again. Jalen dropped the lantern. It shattered. Darkness swallowed them. Only Sam made it out. The front door was open when he woke, alone, covered in blood that wasn't his. He staggered into the daylight. No sign of the others. No sign of the camera. The house behind him looked abandoned again, silent, still. He never found Tori or Jalen. Not their bodies. Not even their names online anymore. It was like they'd never existed. Sometimes, he dreams of the house. Of the mirrors. Of the book. And every time he looks in the reflection now, he sees them, Tori and Jalen, standing just behind him, mouths stitched shut, eyes pleading. And he knows one day, the house will call him back. Because once it has your name, you never really leave.